out there and getting back in here, huh?
Yeah.
Because we don't want to plow through them as they're there.
Watch out.
Pat's gonna be down here. Pat's gonna
Yeah.
be down here also.
Okay. Good.
But I would say we just bring it up in someplace out of the way.
Well, maybe just against
Yeah.
that wall. I don't know.
Just kind of leave it there.
Yeah, let's see. We gotta remember to put the writing on it too.
Yeah, it's back there. You have the,
Is it back there now?
yeah. Chels,
Yeah.
do you have that sticky wording to put on there? Did we leave that poster behind the altar?
I put it out there like yesterday.
Oh, okay. Um, he's kind of leaning toward not even providing it, but I think we need to show that we've done a little bit extra homework. There's other places that have this, and I think it's more likely to get fried ones when they have something to turn down.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, this won't take long.
Wish they lost it. They outplayed us.
But they were so rough. I mean, that
They
body
were
was.
rough.
You got to give them a tremendous amount of credit. They took us, and they had about two or three good basketball players. The rest was just intense hard. The pressure and the turnovers they created.
Oh,
Sit down.
it was 13 in the first
I
half.
know.
I know, but only 5.
You gotta sit up in the front with you guys?
Yeah. I have to go do that too. Is there enough stuff there?
I had 2. I had yours.
Let me out of here. I'm gonna go get mine. This won't take long.
It looked like you didn't get a lot of sun.
Yeah.
Well,
Hello? Okay, everybody can hear me. Perfect. Okay, we are going to go ahead and kind of get the conversation started. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Chelsea Rogers. I am a new member of faculty council. I'm not at the teachers. Wow, the church council. So, anyhow, I'm on the technology committee, and this has kind of been a conversation that's been ongoing for 2 years of getting kind of a different display system during services. On this, we formed an action committee, and on the action committee, Bob Giese, Pat Weichel, Monty Soberg, Fallon, and Susie Flinty. We are on kind of the action committee. We went and toured a few churches to kind of see what everybody else was doing for the displays during their Sunday services. The first place we went was First Christian, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, First Christian. And they have two screens for their congregation. Their congregation setup is a little different than ours. And then we went to the Nazarene Church, and again, their setup for their congregation is a little different than ours, but they also use screens for their services. Some of you, and I can pass these out, got a little front to back piece of paper, and instead of the big bulletins that you guys get on Sundays, this is just an example of what you guys would get, and then the rest of the service would be on the screens that you would see. So we kind of have two options in mind. The first options you can see are the 4 screens hanging on the sides. The TV screens are about 55 inches is what the cardboard is. That's the representation that we thought would be the best fit, the best size for the church. And the other option is to have 4 55-inch screens. They'd be a frameless TV right up here behind the altar. We do have a display if you guys want to see that option as well. We wanted to, show what we have thought of and then get your guys' feedback. So we have a microphone if anybody wants to provide any feedback. This is at the very beginning, initial phases of implementation. So right now, I think we just want feedback from the congregation members, and big thank you to Bob Giese, who made all of these displays. So if you guys want to say something, please. Yeah. Yeah, and I can pass these out. Raise your hand if you didn't get one of these. Yes, the question was, what would we receive on Sunday instead of the bulletin? And it's a front to back handout.
Is that for everyone or just those who want it? Would we be able to follow through on the screens, or is it in addition to what's on the screen?
I'll let Pastor Audrey answer that.
The service would be on the screens. What you would get when you come in was what the hymns are, in case you want to look them up in your red book and be ready, what the scriptures are, calendar, and any other announcements. So you can take that home and put it on your refrigerator for those who want it. But no, we would not be doing a full bulletin also.
What about the songs that are in the bulletin now, like Holy, Holy, and stuff like that? Would they be on these screens?
Yes. Oh, the question was, what about the liturgy music, Holy, Holy, Lamb of God, such? That would be on the screens. What about the words to the songs? The words to the songs will be on the screen, just the words. If you want to follow along with music, you refer to the hymnal.
Yeah, the question I have, we have some really dedicated staff here that run the cameras, 3 of them right now. What about the staffing? It's going to take a lot of work to have somebody changing the boards every time when a new song comes up and putting it together too.
Since I'm the person who's done this before, he's asking about how much extra staff would we need. First of all, putting the PowerPoint together, Fallon has done that. That's no different than putting a bulletin together. Then what you do, how many of you go to my Revelation Bible study where I give you out a handout of the PowerPoint screen? Somebody could just sign up to have that, the PowerPoints, so they could read along with them, and it's just a matter of having a clicker and sitting anywhere in the congregation. Former congregations, teenagers have done it. People in the 90s have done it. As long as you can follow along this sheet of paper and hit a button, it's not extra in that way.
I gave a lot of lectures with PowerPoint, and once in a while it doesn't work. And halfway through, and it's a little unnerving when that's what you're trying to lecture off of.
Technology happens. And we seem to get through it. I've gotten through it before.
And I guess the other thing, Pastor Audrey would have a screen posted right back there on the balcony off to the left. I think we would have another TV screen so she could see as well. But that doesn't impact anything on the side.
Because this is kind of a personal question for Audrey. Did you have this experience at Pella? Did you put the screens up at Pella, and how was it received?
I'm going to go way back. My first congregation, we're talking several years ago, so technology was different. I put together a PowerPoint, put a projector up in front of the church, and used the wall. And after the first Sunday, a man who was 95 handed me a sizable check and said, okay, do it right. This is the first Sunday I knew where we were in 5 years. So I implemented it there, very well received. Second congregation was Cody, and we went to 2 different size sanctuary. We went to 2 screens like this, and they use it to this day. In fact, they've upgraded it, and they went with an iPad that somebody could sit in the congregation with, still use it to this day. Pella already had a screen that dropped down in the center, covered their beautiful artwork and cross. After I got there, we went to 2 on either side with the TVs and the, what is it called? The definition was so much better, and they use it just, and exactly like what I passed around here. We went to having people complain they didn't have something to hold on to, and they didn't have something to take the announcements home on. So they were happy once they got these half sheets of paper.
I know my mom is kind of excited to try it, possibly. She's gotten to where she can't read the print on the big print anymore. And sometimes, frankly, says she doesn't want to come to church with me because of it. So she's kind of excited about it, and she agreed to put the money that from Lloyd's funeral, that, you know, the memorials to the church towards this to help pay for it if we go this route.
I always think personal experience is the best, you know, instead of I heard. And when we go to Arizona, we've gone to 3 different Lutheran congregations, and all of them have some kind of setup. It's wonderful. It's wonderful, and it's all ages. I think for me personally, I feel more engaged in worship instead of finding where we're at and Monty and I taking the bulletin and going out this way and in this way and up this way and down this way. I feel more engaged in worship because I can sit and look and think. And the other story I want to tell, I didn't ask Pastor if I could do this, but I'm going to do it. One of the things I look forward to if we do in fact go this way is music. I'm so very grateful for Rhonda and Meryl, but what if, heaven forbid, they need to be gone on the same Sunday? This is easy. This is easy. You just put it up there and it's maybe recorded. The story I want to tell is, again, this to me is even not about me or us. It's about the future and young people. Confirmation one time, these kids are now sophomores. I'm not sure if they were 7th or 8th graders. I believe they were 8th graders. But one day at confirmation, we were in the library and Pastor brought a small TV and she set up maybe a current worship song, okay, before we got started. The kids sat down, and Pastor did talk about how these kids are more visual learners than we were. The kids sat down immediately, had their eyes on the screen, wouldn't you know? And it was a video and the lyrics to a song, okay? They immediately sat down and looked at it. It was 3 verses long. They looked at it, they watched it. One of them started humming at first, but by the 3rd verse, the kids were singing. The kids were singing, okay? And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be awesome? So I'm looking forward if this is the way we go.
I'm wondering if, in addition to the visual on the screens, I'm not saying anything against anything anybody's said, but in addition, are there people who can see large print, but they can't see far away? I just want to make sure that both ends of the spectrum would be covered. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess with the TVs, we talked about screens, we talked about that, and I guess with the high definition TVs and the hope to tilt down, tilt out, whatever, we are hoping to meet everybody's needs that way.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say, Susie. If that's an issue for you, we wouldn't all have to sit in the same seats that we are sitting right now. Did you see Scott and Diane come up today? They're sitting up here. Yeah, they could read that one right there. So, I mean, there might be a little moving of where you feel the most comfortable with the print, because, yeah, it could be an issue.
Personally, I approve of these close, then I don't have to look to see where my cheaters are. Are they in my purse? Are they in my pocket or on the top of my head? I can actually see it from here without my glasses.
So I was involved with this, and honestly, I was skeptical. I mean, this conversation is almost 2 years in the making, I think. Just because our church is so narrow. If you're at the Methodist church and you've gone there for a funeral, they have a big space and it works really well there. And the same with the churches that we visited. They're wider in the front and ours just seems so narrow. However, a year and almost a half ago, Polly and I were in Santiago, Chile, and we went to the top of Cerro San Cristobal, and of course there's the statue of the Virgin Mary up there, and there's a train car that you can ride to the top, and there's a beautiful chapel. Of course, it's Catholic, so there's kneelers. We don't need the kneelers, I don't think. And it's a stone building, and it was beautiful, probably built in the 1800s. And what do they have on the walls? They have TVs. And so we're not breaking any new ground here by a long shot, I guess.
I guess the other thing that I'd like to say as well, with funerals and people making PowerPoints for, remembering all the memories, that those PowerPoints would be shown on all 4 screens. So I think when there are funerals and there are show, that it's a nice presentation rather than pulling up the screen, doing the laptop. There's just a lot more work than what these would be. And yes, and the idea is when we get the arms, they could be folded up against the wall. So they don't always have to be out like this. They could be kind of collapsed in. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so this is our second option.
We just carry them in every Sunday, right? The reason we did this is because there were comments from places that this is what they have. You take four of those TVs, you put them in a frame, and you actually can put a picture on there just like the bricks, and you hardly know that it's there. Now, there's the big question of, some of us feel it's close to sacrilegious. When we got it up there, it didn't look too bad.
So if you think of it as what Monty was just kind of saying, is it's 4 pieces of cardboard. They're all 55 inches. It would be 4 TV screens with the frameless. So what Monty was saying is when they weren't on, the brick would be the background of the TV, and that's a representation of what the lettering would be.
And actually, it would be bigger. On that, it would take up that whole space big. Yeah. The whole thing would be the screen, and it would be filled in with all that lettering. It would be bigger. I just, it wouldn't be, it would take up the whole thing. Yes. I don't know, that's.
One screen that would be, you'd see one picture there, not 4 pictures. You
Right.
would see the much bigger lettering.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. The words, yes. And then if we went with this option, there would be no side screens. It's either this or the 4. So we're not doing both, one or the other.
Cost-wise, we think this is cheaper because a lot of our wiring is accessed there. They'll be considerably more to put these up, but we'll be able to move them out a little, fold them up, angle them, so that if you want to read it, you can easily find a place. Now, there'll be a blind spot. For a while, we had a blind spot for the pastor there, and we had it down farther, and then Pat said, no, that's not going to work, so we got it moved up there, and that's a little bit of the process that we went
Yeah, so this is kind of, this is not saying exactly where the TVs and the tilt and it's just kind of a idea. So the question was, is it a company that comes in and sets it all up? No. It would be Pat and Bob and myself and Dave and whoever, Fallon and the committee. Yeah.
electricity and wiring part would be contracted.
So
In-
the displays. Um,
I think you would have a single controller that might be wireless so that your tablet could run it, but you're probably going to have a cable run back to a control box. That's just, I'm not aware of anything, any like Chromecast, Apple TV that can go to 4 things simultaneously.
so that would require a little bit of cable work, wiring.
This is easy. Any cost estimates on either one of these?
So we talked about 2 routes, 2 different TV options. We could just go the Costco route, and a 55-inch, screenless, I think is around $2,500. But then Pat has another option that he can share.
Well, when you read about what other churches do and to do this professionally, kind of you step up kind of to a commercial grade, not a Costco consumer grade TV. But I think that the monitors themselves are probably going to be no more than what it's going to cost to do the wiring. I mean, I just in my mind look at each of these, and that's probably 3-4 hours of labor per spot. So you're 12 to 16 hours of electrician labor, which is, what's a guess, $150 an hour? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and that would be down the line. I guess we haven't, we looked at the TV screens, but we haven't, like Pat's estimate of the electrician work, like we haven't even discussed any of that yet, so.
Yeah, we wanted to make it clear. This is just to get interest or non-interest, because very beginning stages, big issue, can be emotional, want input. We don't need it today. Call or text us and let us know how you feel, because we care what everybody feels about it. And so if it was a big no, then we didn't waste any time tracking down all the expenses. If everybody says, that made sense to me, let's go ahead, or whatever, we can take that step then.
We tried to get lights along here at one time. I'm okay. And it was it was a problem getting electric to those lights. We'd have to run big cables and stuff along there. So that's something we need to look at. I don't think those junction boxes up there are what we're looking for. I might be wrong, but we had problem with that once before, getting the power to that stuff.
Yeah, that's very good to know.
I'd kind of like to echo what Dan said. That the TVs behind the altar there, to me, feel vaguely sacrilegious. They would take away from the presentation of the altar, the pulpit, the cross, why we're here. So I would kind of echo what Dan said. The TV's on the side, yeah. And the other thing I just wonder about is that the image on those TVs at the back would have to be just enormous for people to read, the people who are sort of vision impaired, where they could get close to these and they could see these, but the ones back there, I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, there's the distance factor with that one is a big issue. I just would throw it out there because it's been mentioned as we've thought this through over the last couple of years. Another idea that we had is there could be, much like the classroom that these ladies and other in the room teach in, there could be a class set or a congregational set of iPads or Chromebooks or what have you technology that you bring to the pew with you. Or maybe it's those with a different kind of vision impairment thing. I mean, that's not a cheap solution either, but it's another idea, anyway. It could be, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could have that combination too. Yep, and you would need less. So the question was, could that be done in conjunction with this? And anything's possible.
Yes, Bill.
The TVs, you said something about maybe commercial grade versus Costco grade or what?
Yeah, Pat, yeah.
Is there really a big difference?
I honestly haven't really researched it. I just know that there is a difference. So, and in my mind, it's like, well, you know how things are. If you can buy it cheap and you might have to buy it again or buy it once and do it right, and it's probably going to work out to be about the same. That's my guess.
Yeah, okay.
But like I think, like we said, and the wiring is going to probably be equal, or if not more, than what it costs to put the monitors. I think the monitors are a pretty smaller part of the project, honestly.
Byron, going back to your question, here's one thing, and I'm just going to share this because I've gotten over it, okay? But after 13 years of doing with screens, the first month I was here, preaching and having you all reading your bulletins and looking like this and making noise with your bulletins drove me absolutely insane.
So that's what happened.
Yeah. And what I notice in congregations that have this, people stand to sing, their heads are up because they're looking up, and the acoustics are so much better. But yes, I was totally distracted the first few weeks here because I would see you guys rattling, and every time you had to turn a page, I heard every crinkle of paper. But I've gotten over it, so whatever you decide is fine with me.
Correct me on the committee. Oh, I'm sorry.
Could you respond to my concern that having the displays behind the altar in that location is vaguely sacrilegious?
Very much acknowledged, okay? That the committee basically has said if we want to go one direction, we like the sides. But we also thought, what if there's somebody out there that's been to a church that has it and loves it? Bob likes to do extra work, and so he put all the work together for that. It's not our recommendation from the committee, because we all kind of felt it's a distraction to the cross, to everything. So that's kind of what we felt. Yes.
Brian had let's see, you had a question first, tell me. Oh yeah, think about savings that we'll have on paper. So there's that. And the copier.
We felt about actual cost of $20 a month savings without considering the cost of a new copier every so often.
Right. So there's savings in the hardware, the copying machine.
And
it's-
Fallon's time.
Yeah, and Fallon's time. And the other point to the back screen that Brian made, which is right, if one of those screens happens to go out, then that whole thing is non-functional. Whereas if one of these goes out, you still have the other three till you get it replaced. So.
Oh, all right. She said, progress is better than recess. So, I guess thank you everybody for your time and your comments. We really appreciate it. Did you want to have one last thought?
Who should we give feedback to?
Well, I'm kind of thinking I would be willing to put out a survey but through an email, but I know we won't get everybody just because not everybody has email or has, but I don't know what the committee thinks of that, the next step of a survey. Option A would be the 4 side screens. Option B is that. And then option C is just, nothing. So I don't know. Pastor Audrey, how do you feel about that?
I feel the next step is to take your feedback, give your feedback to the committee members before our council meeting on August
17th, I think.
17th or 18th, yeah, 19th.
19th, okay.
On August 19th. And then if it's favorable to move forward with the next step, which would be find out what's possible, because we have to find out from electricians and such, is this possible and how much will it cost? And then move forward that way. But we want your feedback go to these committee members. I very much want this to be a congregational thing and not a pastor thing, because pastors come and go, but you will live with it forever. So give your feedback to our committee members. Committee members, please stand up that are here.
And then Dave in the back, too.
And then Dave's in the back. And Fallon was on this committee also. Feedback and concerns, and that way we can discuss them at council. And we'll be continuing to let everybody know through emails, newsletters and e-blast and such, where we're at.
Why doesn't Fallon sit on her listserv, the names and numbers or whatever, so we get back?
We can do that tomorrow.
Good.
With emails, phone numbers.
Right, emails and phone numbers.
Yep, so text, yeah. So we can have everything by our council meeting on August 19th. Oh, timeline for getting this up? No, we don't have a timeline because we have to know if we're moving forward and we have to get costs, make sure it's feasible. Personally, sooner the better, but.
Any other feedback? Comments? Yes.
I just want to say sometimes pictures speak louder than words, and it'd be really easy to have a slideshow playing when people are coming into church, no sound, but just pictures of people in our congregation doing the things they do. Because a lot of times we're kind of separated from what all's going on. There's a lot of people doing some really cool things, and kids in our youth program, and Bible school, and even our Flathead camp. And if, kids might see that and think, oh, that looks fun. I might want to do that. And we really want to try and appeal more to the youth, too. So.
I just want to say I appreciate all that the committee has done putting this together. And I personally like the 4 because quite often we have banners hanging up there, and we wouldn't be able to do that with that big screen up there. So I'm in favor of this. That's my feedback.
Thank you. I know, I could. Yeah, I guess we could. Should I? Okay, raise your hands for the 4 side TVs. Okay, raise your hand for the big screen. Raise your hand for nothing. Okay. I guess that's...
We still want to hear
Yes, yeah, please. Yeah, please, reach out to any of us if you guys want. Okay, well, thank you guys all so much, and they'll include our names, numbers, emails, so reach out.